Tony Oliver, and I'm a filmmaker. Grew up in Akron, Ohio. I got introduced to film through going to a lot of drive-in movies with my mom and my little sister. You know, the first thing that I can remember is, God, and I can't remember how old I was. I'm sure I was about 10 or 11, and maybe younger, but it was something about Halley's Comet. And that night, we went to the drive-in to see Night of the Living Dead, my very first horror film. And it stuck with me. And from that day, I believe I was kind of intrigued to watch more films that were like thrillers and horrors. My childhood was fun enough that I didn't have things that scared me. There weren't things that excited me about comedies and dramas. I think horror gave me the excitement and adrenaline to be like, wow, you know, that's scary. And being intrigued by that, I always search for the horror films that could scare me the most. The Exorcist. A lot of people are like, why is it Exorcist? It really wasn't, well, it's scary in the sense that when you're fighting something that you can't see and there's no, it feels like there's no threat, you can't really run from it. It's almost like we're trying to run from yourself. So the scariest horror film for me was The Exorcist. Some of the others, I would have to say The Thing. Again, it was an alien creature, something that you really can't fight, that was going from body to body and killing people. So it's like, how do you defeat this thing, you know? And of course the Friday the 13th, you know, Freddy Krueger, you know, those slasher type of films, but they didn't move me like The Exorcist and The Thing. As a child, I was surrounded by a bunch of people that were into singing. At that time, it was all about going to talent shows, singing. Acting really wasn't acting really wasn't something that I grew up knowing about. It was more about as far as being an artist. You know, you'd be drawing or you'd be singing, performing, what have you, at different events that we would have, different competitions. Every Easter we'd have a competition at this place called the Civic Center, and everybody would go. They would either be dancing or they'd be singing, and so yeah, I started out singing actually. But when I came to California, I saw that the things that I wanted to do as a child, I could now do. Like, I wanted to be in the arts, you know, the theater and things of that nature. So I actually started doing theater and getting that instant gratification of being on a stage, along with all the stress of having to remember your lines and your blocking and all those things that go along with doing theater. Um, uh, not you're in a position where you're not supposed to make mistakes. It's live. You know, you can't re-edit it or anything like that. So starting out in theater, and then in the 90s, music videos were big. So, and the type of music videos that they were showing in the 90s were more about telling a story. So we would actually have to audition for the music videos. So I started doing music videos as an actor, and eventually booked my first acting gig, real acting gig, on Unsolved Mysteries, episode of Unsolved Mysteries. I played a rapper. His name was Young Lay, from Northern California, and he ended up getting shot. So I had to play that whole scene out, that reenactment. So that was pretty cool. And after that, I guess I was so to speak bitten by the bug of acting. When did I go from acting to directing? it was early in my career when I remember going to audition after audition and seeing how the whole process of auditioning works out, where sometimes they would already know who they want, but just in case, let's go ahead and have this cattle call and, see what we got. But a lot of times, they would already know who they wanted. And I guess I just got tired of the process. I got tired of the process of not having the right representation, which, I was always seeking the right management, the right agent that believed in me enough to go ahead and push me as far as selling me. So I guess I didn't get enough of that. And I figured, okay, well, I'll do it myself. So I wrote my first full-length script, which was actually, it's called The Poet, and it's a period piece, Italian mafia. I wrote that, and then after I wrote that, I just figured that maybe I'll write something that I can actually shoot, that I can produce. So then I wrote a film called Columbus Day with a bunch of colorful characters, and I figured if nothing else, I can get somebody to direct it, and get a casting director, and it'll be great. And I'll try to do it myself, low budget. I had a little money at the time, and I ended up finding out that there wasn't a lot of help. It wasn't as pretty as people make it out to be as far as making a film. So I ended up being pretty much casting, but along with the casting director that I ended up hiring on that hadn't casted yet. So I had to be a big part of that. And the process of finding a cinematographer, and all the way down to just catering, making sure people got fed, and it was just a lot of work. And me being the writer, director, producer, and executive producer, I had no idea what I was getting into, but I got the film made, and life happened, and I never released it, but it will be released on YouTube coming out soon. I had an idea that I was going to make my own way, and I was going to wing it based off of me watching films. I would watch films all the time. I go to the theater by myself. In fact, I still do. I wanted to, I guess, push myself because I didn't have anybody else to do it for me. So I figured I had to do everything, try to learn as much as I could so I would have value. So I really didn't have a plan other than, you know what, I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to make this movie, and I'm going to get it distributed to, at that time, it would have been Blockbuster. Because you're talking about probably 96 or something like that, I think. And that was my plan. But life happened, and again, I just never released it. But yeah, I didn't have a plan to direct. I didn't have a plan to produce, none of that. When it came to directing, trying to find a director, I couldn't find anybody that had the vision, that really saw the vision of what I had on paper. So me not trusting anyone that I had interviewed, I was like, well, maybe I can do it. Definitely making my first film was film school. The only thing that I wish I would have done is I didn't let life get in the way, so I could have been more consistent. I think the biggest challenges being a filmmaker, just the fact of thinking about everything that entails, is funding. A lot of us, can be creative and get people together, but those people have to be fed. The equipment has to be paid for. So getting your film funded is the hardest part. That's why I tried to wear multiple hats, so I could try to, squeeze through the cracks and get something done so I would have some value, so then people would believe in me enough to go ahead and give me some money so I could do a better film. I just got my new SAG card, and it's not on me, but I think it says a member since I've been a SAG member since 1994. I got my first SAG card in 1994, and I was Taft-Hartley because it was an episode of Unsolved Mysteries that I booked, which was a network show at the time. And yeah, I got Taft-Hartley. Taft-Hartley meaning that I wasn't union at the time, but I became union because I booked the SAG show. How many films have I done thus far in my career? Over 20 over my career. And there's a TV show also I was reoccurring on in the 90s called For Your Love with Holly Robinson Peete and Dee Dee Pfeiffer. A lot of indie films, some larger budget films. I had bit parts. I've worked with Johnny Depp on the movie Blow. I worked with Halle Berry on the Dorothy Dandridge story. I was a light heavyweight boxer in that. I worked with Gary Sinise. I got a chance to be a stand-in for Lawrence Fishburne in a film that he did called Always Outnumbered. I wasn't a regular stand-in. It was my first time actually doing that, but I learned a lot because there were iconic actors on the set. There was Bill Cobbs, Cicely Tyson, Isaiah Washington, Natalie Cole, and because Lawrence was A-list actor, I actually had to do the rehearsals with the on-camera rehearsals before the scene with the actual actors. So I got to work with Cicely Tyson in a scene that's not recorded, but you know, the fact that I'm working with her, it was just amazing. And Bill Cobbs, and we're running lines, and this is all new for me, but it made me feel like I belonged though. I studied theater at the Stella Adler Theater in Los Angeles, and I also did plays at a small theater on Santa Monica in Hollywood. Did a few other plays around Hollywood. I probably did a total of about 10 plays. Actually, I totally forgot about it, but years ago, actually acted and directed a play for the first time, and that was a huge experience. You know, having to go through the whole process of not just directing the actors, but blocking them and making sure the transitions made sense, because you're doing this all live, and you don't want to lose the audience. Who inspires me? I think foremost it would be Tarantino, because he just did it himself. He was a perfect example of how, you know, I don't have to follow the wave of everybody else. I can figure this out for myself and still be successful. So definitely I have to give it to Tarantino before all. And then I would also have to give it to Spike Lee. The same thing, doing it independently and figuring out a way to, get his films funded and make a good project. They're still surviving in the business after all these years. As far as filmmakers, like just raw filmmakers, those are the two that stand out the most. Now, as far as actors, it would be, of course, Denzel, but that's just, I think, a given for anybody. I think he's kind of like the epitome of an actor when it comes to just real acting. And then there's De Niro, who is actually my favorite actor. He's done it all, from anywhere from drama to comedy to thrillers to action to horror. I think what I like most about making movies is the fantasy of it not being real. The fantasy of it not being real, so you can escape for that time period. I think that's what I used to do as a child when I watched movies, was escape. I was a big Twilight Zone fan, and you really could escape because those stories were not everyday stories. It wasn't the norm. It wasn't something that you were used to seeing or hearing. So Dog Belly is a film that I'm working on. We're hoping to be done with that soon. Just wrapped on a film called Sessions 13, which co-wrote and directed with my partner here, Ben, and looking to have a rough cut this summer and hopefully to be finished with post-production in October. One thing that I can tell anybody that is trying or thinking about entering the film business, especially the indie aspect of it, is don't expect people to support you. You gotta support yourself. Especially now with social media, people are really more concerned with what they're looking at, so give them something to look at, but don't expect them to support you until you have value. And when you have value, everybody's going to support you, right? But in the beginning, don't focus on that, because that'll slow you down. You should focus on just doing the work, and try to surround yourself around like-minded individuals. You know, that'll keep you in the game and keep you moving. And don't give up, no matter what, no matter how bad you think something is. No matter what anybody says. In my opinion, a lot of stuff that I did release and did in the past, it would probably be trash in my mind. I'd be like, oh, that's trash. But that was my learning ground, and I had to take the criticism, to build the strength of to be in this business. Everything's not going to be yes. So a lot of times I went in and I wasn't happy with the end result of the project, but I've always finished the product. One big thing that I think would help all of us be successful in this particular business is, find a team, be a part of a team, and make sure everybody has their own specific part to play. You don't want to have two people trying to pick up the same leg. There's two legs, one can pick up one and one can pick up the other. Don't try to be a director when you're supposed to be coming to the set to act. So pull your weight, do what you came to do, always come on time, and don't complain. Yeah, I can't tell you how many times people have said, gotten on the set, and like, okay, so what time are we getting out of here? Like, I love this. Like this whole experience of filmmaking, I love it. So I'm not ready to go when I get to the set. If anything, I'm just like, please, let's stay as long as we can. Let's stay in this fantasy. Yeah, I know bills got to be paid, but, when you make the commitment to be there all the way there. Don't be on your phone, enjoy the whole experience. And I think that to really sum it up, that if everybody plays their part, you got a solid team, man, you can make film after film, especially now. This is an indie world. You don't need all the glitz and the glamour and a whole big crew. You can have a small crew and make an amazing film. I grew up in sports. I played basketball, ran track, boxed. I played football. And what I found in team is that everybody's working for the same thing. The same, so you got all this energy going towards just this one thing, and it can only explode. It's like an explosion because there's so much energy going towards it. It's the same thing with people. It's like with a film. You got everybody working towards the same thing. You got the sound guy making sure the sound is tight. You got the cameraman making sure the framing and the clarity in the camera is right. You got the actors making sure they know their lines and they're doing what they're supposed to do. You got the writer making sure that the writer is written properly. And then you got the producers making sure that you can get all your locations and everything else that you need to make the film. If everybody's doing their part, it's a done deal. Just come there to work. The internet is a great thing. It's done a lot of good, but I believe that it's given people a false sense of understanding of reality. And when you're watching something on your phone or your device, and you're believing that that's all real, and then you go into that situation with that mindset of thinking that it's supposed to be like this, and then when you get to the set, you find out, oh, I gotta wait 4 hours before I actually get on camera. I gotta sit around and what am I supposed to do while I'm sitting around? It's like, you should be watching. That's what I would be doing. You should be watching because you should be trying to learn exactly what it really is, rather than what's on the phone, the fantasy that you were, searching about. This is the real thing. When you get to the set, it's long hours. I expect to be there for 12. I expect to be there for 12 hours. If it's longer, cool. I mean, I shot for 24 hours before. No sleep, straight through. Crazy, right? But I did it because I love it. So the misconception is that this is some walk in the park and it's all glamorous. Yeah, it's glamorous, when the project's done, but you got to put the work in first. So don't come there glamorous before the work got done. I think also, again, I want to deal with the internet. There's a lot of groups out there that I used to be a part of, and I still am a part of some of them. But I noticed that people are sending messages out there in these certain groups and asking people, hey, do you know where I can get funding or where I can get distribution, what have you? And you, just to really clear it up, you're not going to find it in a situation like that. If you want to meet somebody that you figure that may be interested in funding your film, you have to go to places where people are making that kind of money. I call it money that tax write-off money. You got to go to those places. You're not going to find it online. If you want someone to distribute your project, still, I think you need to try to X out that third party and try to get to the head of the acquisitions yourself. Figure it out. That's what I had to do. I think people, because of social media, have a false sense of how the business works and the reality of it when you actually get on set and you deal in the business. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of hard work, and I think soon that and no shot to any influencers or whatever. I'm not mad at how anybody makes their ends meet, but as far as the actual art of filmmaking and acting, and it will mean so much more if you study the art. It'll mean so much more if you study the art. My very first lead was a film called Ghetto Rhapsody. Find it on YouTube. There was a scene where the camera was set up to do a dolly in, and I was sitting on the steps with two other actors, and the dolly was gonna come from probably about 12 feet away and push in close up on me. The entire time that he's dollying in, I'm looking away because I'm trying to remember it and because I can visualize it. So the entire time that dolly is dollying in on me, I am the only one that has dialogue, and it's probably about 2 pages. Scene in the movie where I'm describing something that has happened, and it's kind of emotional about it. So right before the director says action, I think to myself, I don't know my lines. I had a blank at that moment. I did not know my lines. So I kind of took a deep breath. I didn't say anything. I think I should have, but I didn't say anything. And it's a perfect example of putting the work in. As soon as he said action, it's like a light switch went off. And after I got done with my scene, they kind of clapped. Like it was nailed. Like I made the perfect decision. Every beat and everything was just exactly the way it needed to be. But I knew the script. I knew the story. I put so much work into that. This is my first lead. This is going to take me where I want to go. So if you believe in it that much and you want it that much, then you'll put the work in and you will get the results. I tell you, man, because I was lost. I think that the thing that people most complain about when they get on the set, and that I had to be okay with, and I have to say this: the reason why I think I was okay with the rules of the set, the reason why I think I was okay with the rules of the set, is because I was in the Navy, and I had a mom that was very much of a disciplinarian. So a lot of that taught me to stay in control of self and to be able to overcome and to get through things. So when I found out the hours that we had to put into just sitting around waiting on the set and not being able to leave, and sometimes you be on a set all day and they don't even use you, but they needed you just in case they needed you. So you just have to love it enough to know that expect anything. You expect anything, and if you have a good attitude, then you'll make it far in this business. Once you start complaining and being a burden to the project or people, the word gets around, because business, hey, it's not that big. It's big, but it's not that big. You know what I mean? It will get around. I think it's important to love anything that you do if you want to get like the best results. I love filmmaking. If I'm directing, if I'm writing, if I'm producing, if I'm acting, it doesn't matter. I love every step of the way. And yeah, it's difficult, but I love it. I guess it's just like music. It's like, you might throw 100 songs away and only have one hit, but you keep doing it because you love it. It's not hard when you love it. It's not work when you love it. My favorite movie of all time is The Godfather. And my number 2 movie of all time is The Godfather 2. So I guess the reason why I like The Godfather is, and also that's my mom's favorite movie too. That's not the reason why it's my favorite movie. The reason why it's my favorite movie is because early on I was exposed to a lot of gangster type of stuff, let's just say. And seeing this told in a very dramatic, cool way, I was like, wow, these gangsters, it's like the gangsters were glorified. Like they were cool guys. They weren't just murderers. They had families. It was like taking common family and showing all the dysfunction that can be in that family, but they still stick together. All this dysfunction is going on. The father, he's a big time gangster. People are getting killed and money's being made and millions of dollars and the wives are still sticking by him and the kids are growing up in the family and they're in the family business, and it just showed a lot of that struggle that, yeah, I'm doing this. It may be wrong in people's eyes, but the family is still together and we're still making this happen. We're still building generation after generation. And, other thing, gangsters are cool. On film, that is. On film. And The Godfather 2 is just like the acting, the way the stories were told, the way it was written, the writing, the way it was shot. I just love the rich colors, the dramatic colors, and the poise of the characters. I believe them. I believe everything that Michael said. I like watching a lot of video on actors that have made it. Recently, I saw a video on Tom Cruise, and they were asking Tom Cruise in an interview. He said, when did you know that you wanted to do these movies and be this big star, action star? And it's like his answer was, I didn't necessarily want to be an action star. I just love movies. I just knew that I wanted to be a part of it, and I wanted to be in it, and I wanted to learn as much as I could because I loved it so much. And that's why when you see him up on the big screen doing crazy stuff, it's because he just loves it. He's not looking at it like, oh, I'm doing a crazy stuff. He's like, man, this is gonna this. That's why we do it. With horror films, I still love the thrill of being scared. I remember as a child, again, going to haunted houses during Halloween season. And we were truly scared of knowing, of course, that they were a mask, but it's just like, just having that in your mind that, oh my God, what's around the corner, and you really get scared till you fall on the floor and you can't go by because you think something's gonna jump out and get you. But yeah, horror is just like, I think it's that ultimate adrenaline rush. That's a wrap. That's a wrap. That's a wrap.